journey wherever you wanna go. I'm gonna walk by your side for everything I'm worth. And if the journey makes you stumble or the road is far too long, then backwards we will wander. I will never turn around, 'cause I know everything you said, everything you done, whatever you want, whatever you need, rely on me.
Rely on me. It's from our friend John Magnusson, recording artist in Stockholm, Sweden. Follow him on Twitter. He's pretty awesome. He's a great recording artist, composer, lots of different genres of music, and we recommend him highly. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Recruiter Podcast. My name is Craig Lockerd. I am the host of the Recruiter Podcast and the youngest man in the automobile industry. And that there is no doubt. Today should be an interesting, hopefully an interesting show. It's just me. We're going to talk about some things that are a little different, I think. And I hope you enjoy them. I hope that you share this out. There might even be some noteworthy information during the course of this show. We would hope that at the very least. This show, the Recruiter Podcast, is brought to you in part by AutoMax Recruiting and Training, the premier automotive recruiting company in the country. One thing I want to say about AutoMax real quick, and it's something that we just put out socially, and it's kind of my fault. In social media, you see literally hundreds of pictures of our recruiter trainers and recruiting campaigns across the country holding these new hire campaigns, whether they be for sales or for BDC or what have you. The biggest part of our business, however, is in the recruitment of the screening, the vetting, the scheduling, again, the interviewing, and it's very in-depth recruiting of all other positions in the dealership, whether it be in fixed ops with technicians, with advisors, collision repair, people in the admin office, F&I managers, management, literally everything else. So, I'd like to put a shout out to the people, and we have a big staff that takes care of that, and they're very experienced, and they're just awesome people, and they do a great job of it. So if you have needs other than sales and BDC, don't stop that. But if you have other needs, be aware that we take care of that. And we're also brought to you in part by our newest company. And we did the big pivot during all of this mess that's happening in our country and created an entire new company of products and services called MaxSafe Consulting. And some of the things that it entails is, one of the biggest things is finding warranty money inside your dealership that's not been applied for, been rejected for whatever reason. And we find you that money, and it's in a lot of cases big money. We also have a service out of the F&I office in terms of bi-monthly payments or setting up payments in a little different way to save you some interest, put you in an equity position sooner and so forth. Go more along maybe perhaps with your paycheck than the way that loans are normally set up. It's a no-brainer. And then our biggest product is PermaSafe. And we've talked about this probably ad nauseum. But the studios here at All Systems Go AV has been PermaSafed. We've just becoming a distributor in the sense of we're now able to take care of individual needs. Typically, we get a ton of leads, and people just wanting to do their own car or do their own home or do a small office or what have you. And we've not been able to do that in the past until now. And now you can reach out, and if you want to do your own car, you don't have to be a car dealer and buy $8 zillion worth of inventory of the product to be able to do your whole inventory. You can do your own car for cheap money. You can also do your home. To give you an idea, in terms of a home, we just did a beauty salon in Michigan, 1,700 square foot building, I believe. And I'm going to be off a little bit on these numbers, I think, but it was like in and around, with the fogger, shipping and everything, around $600. So I mean, it's like it's inexpensive and the best product that there is, bar none. So the Recruiter Podcast is brought to you by that. And let's get into what we're going to talk about today. And the actual title of the piece today is Absent Father, Absent Leader, Automotive. January 15th, 1928, my dad was born, Edward Lockerd. And he was born in a little town called Newburgh, New York. I don't know what the population was then. Now I think it's a couple thousand people. Very poor area. I can remember as a kid, my parents taking me, when they were still together, taking me up there to kind of experience where my dad grew up. And somehow my dad, being the greatest salesman in the world, somehow talked these people into letting us go in the house. And I can remember, the only thing I can actually remember, frankly, and I don't know, I really can't recall how old I was, maybe 8, 9, maybe 10 years old. And I can remember going into the bathroom, quote unquote, and there was a bucket of, I think, water in what would be called a toilet. And I went ahead and peed, and then I was instructed to throw this bucket of water into the hole that was the toilet. And there was a window off to the side, and I looked down this window, and there was a hill, and you could see that water that I threw into the hole go down. So that was kind of their septic system. And this is in 1960, even though I am the youngest man in the car business, this was, I don't know, 1960, 61, 62, somewhere in that area. And they still didn't have plumbing there. And that's kind of how my dad grew up. And somewhere in that first year of my dad's life, his father took off. My grandfather. His name was George Lockerd. And was never heard of or seen again. I can remember as a young kid when we'd go somewhere, when we'd go on a family vacation or what have you, that one of the first things we did when we moved into a hotel room was we'd get out the white pages of the phone book and look for any Lockerds. And that was my dad's attempt to find his father. And I can remember doing that a lot. Now, I guess with Ancestry.com and, 23andMe or what have you, I guess if we really wanted to, I guess we could kind of find that out. I think it hasn't been talked about a lot in the family, but I have the impression that probably through my stepsister, there's probably been some information found out about my grandfather. And I think the information was probably not all that cool, and it hasn't been talked about a lot. So my dad was raised by my grandmother, Isabell Lockerd. Her maiden name is Isabel Carmichael. She was born and raised in Scotland. And she was a very interesting woman, very strict, however, very loving person. And she had 4 children. Robina, the oldest daughter, became a runway model in New York City. She's a beautiful woman. And my Aunt Janet ended up getting married a gentleman that worked for IBM when computers used to be 100 times the size of this room. My dad's brother, Uncle Robert, was a very interesting person. Uncle Robert could do pretty much anything. He was a quote-unquote man's man. I'll talk about him a little bit more as we go along here. And my dad was the youngest. So my dad never had a father. I really, to this day, don't know how he learned to do stuff. I have no idea. None whatsoever. Generally, as a boy, you pick up stuff from your dad. I think part of the responsibility is, as a father, is to teach your son. And before I go any further, I don't want this to become I don't want to exclude women from this conversation, because I'm going to be talking about something called the father wound. And there's a corresponding nature to the mother wound. It is different, but there are woman leaders that are absent. There's mothers that are absent. But I'm going to be primarily talking about men. But those of you that are women that are watching this, I don't want to lose you as an audience. So I think this is very important. I think this is important in raising your sons, your daughters, your relationship with your husband or whomever in your relationship. I think it's very important. So I think there's a direct correlation between being absent physically, emotionally, spiritually absent from your family. And I think there's a direct correlation, those same things, with inside your business. And in this particular case, you're an automobile dealership. During the show, we're going to try to weave in some emotional intelligence, because I think that's very important in understanding yourself, understanding change, and how we can become better, because you can change. So my dad growing up, I can sit here and tell you about all the things he didn't do, and there were a lot. Some things I'm not sure who taught me how to do. I know my Uncle Robert was enlisted to teach me to go learn how to fish. I can remember that day like it was yesterday. We caught one fish. It was this small little thing. I don't know what it was. Took it out of the water, smashed it up against a rock to make sure it was dead. I can remember it was my Uncle Robert that was enlisted to teach me how to shoot a gun. So at that time, in my teenage years, we had moved to a farm out in the middle of nowhere. And there's this big old tree out, I don't know, maybe a half a mile from the home. And it was dead. And he took this shotgun and he, warned me that it had a kick. I really didn't know what that meant. But he said, you just softly pull this trigger and boom. So I did that and immediately, boom, I'm on my ass. And half this freaking tree is blown away. And it was quite a while before I shot another gun. A few years ago, I ended up buying a Glock and learned how to use it, a home protection type of thing. But up until that point, that was it. And it seemed like a lot of men got enlisted to teach me a lot of different things. I'm not quite sure how I learned how to play basketball. I'm not quite sure I learned how to play football. I know my dad taught me how to play golf. He was a scratch golfer, and I know he did that. But during these times, my dad was in the car business. He had gone to a small community college in the Cleveland area, and he got a job selling cars. And evidently, he was pretty good at it. He bought a used car lot shortly thereafter that, Craig Auto Sales. So I was born about a year and a half after they got married. My mom and dad got married. And then I'm not sure the exact circumstances on why he sold it or whatever. Not quite sure. He went back in, worked in a dealership, became a manager. He ended up running a Cadillac dealership called, at the time, Conway Cadillac. It's now Crestmont Cadillac. I think they're still in business in Beechwood, Ohio. And he was the general manager there, and he started making some money. And in all this time, he wasn't there a lot. He, air quotes, worked a lot. Spent a lot of time at night with the factory guys. And I can remember pretty clearly the discussions between my mother and him about his time spent at night with the factory guys. But he worked real hard. He worked long hours. I didn't see him much. My mother was always there. She was at every Little League game, every football game, every basketball game. My mother happened to be the high school librarian, which was not that cool when I got to be at high school. I mean, where else do you make out with your girlfriend other than in the library? I mean, that's what it's for. But there are days that he was at home, obviously. But growing up in that era was kind of like growing up in like a long loop playing scene from Mad Men. Him and his buddies, it was all, cocktails, cigarettes, and that's what it was. The Me Too movement would have had a heart attack back then. But that's how I kind of grew up. And when he was around, he wasn't really around. I don't recall a conversation about girls. So maybe my 2.5 marriages. I always say 2.5 because the one was a couple of weeks, I think, or it seemed like it. That is a whole nother podcast. I don't ever recall a conversation about money. Now, oddly enough, my grandfather was president of a bank, but he was a very tight-lipped, very hard man, brilliant, respected him. But we didn't have those conversations. My education as a young man about money was, and maybe some of you can relate to that are out there listening right now, is motivation through monthly payments. Go out, buy some clothes, go out and overspend, and you'll figure a way out to pay for that stuff. Motivation through monthly payments. Is that a real thing? I don't know. I don't think that's really good financial advice. Temporarily, I guess it worked for me. I raised my standard of living from living like a bum, in a college dorm, to renting a actual house. I'm not quite sure I had any money in the bank. My check got cashed at the Aragon Bar in Canton, Ohio. Shout out to the Aragon. I would hand them my check, and sometimes they'd hand me money back. Sometimes they would not. All through this course, this journey, and it's something I announced on Facebook the other day. I don't like to, you got to be careful about bragging, about pride, about something like this, but by the grace of God and some really awesome men, ended up saving my life. I was 28 years sober this past June 10th, which also, by coincidence, happens to be what's called Founders Day within Alcoholics Anonymous, when Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob met at the Sieberlin Gates and decided to form this organization as saved, I don't know, 1 billion lives perhaps. Saved mine. But I saw these things growing up. I saw cocktail parties, or what could be loosely termed as cocktail parties. I remember my dad, like awkward moments, like we'd be alone in a room and there was nothing to talk about, you know. Sports, I guess, was something. He taught me that Ohio State was cool and everyone else sucked, that the Indians were cool and the Browns were cool and everybody else sucked. I do remember my first baseball game. My dad, my grandfather, took me to Cleveland Stadium. And again, I don't remember my age, but I can remember distinctly, and I think some of you be able to relate to this. Distinctly remember walking up that tunnel and walking into this vast park. And I could smell the grass. I could smell the beer, the hot dogs. And it was like, wow, this is amazing. And I can remember it being a beautiful experience. A beautiful experience. I can remember my grandfather taking me to Forbes Field in Pittsburgh. Clemente was still playing. I can remember seeing him make a throw from right field with his right foot on the fence. Not quite sure where the runner was, maybe second base, but him throwing a dart to home plate, throwing him out. There was an announcer for the Pirates back then. His name was Prince, was his last name, I think. Forget his first name. And he was walking through the crowd. My grandfather said hello to him. I think he knew him. But I didn't have those experiences with my dad. Now, this is not a poor me. This is not a guilt trip on my father. I'll talk more about that as this thing goes along. But even when he was there, he was not there. He was evidently, I guess, thinking about something else, focused on something else. See, from what research I've done on this subject, it almost gets more confusing in my head. Several years ago, the church that I go to, I talked to one of the pastors, and he gave me a book. Nope, he recommended a book to me. I went and bought it. The author's name is John Eldridge. You might want to write this down. John Eldridge. And the name of the book is Wild at Heart. Wild at Heart. His wife, Stacy, wrote a corresponding book for women called Captivating. I'll admit I did not read her whole book. I've read Wild at Heart a couple times. And according to John Eldridge in this book, Wild at Heart, he talks about something called the father wound. The father wound. The father wound consists of questions that maybe we've all asked. You know, guys, there's only so many fatherhood experiences that you could possibly have, I guess. And I don't know. You could have a father that's physically there but absent. You could have a father that unfortunately met some horrible, untimely demise early on in your childhood, or some point in your childhood he passed through some form of nature, and you grew up without a father. Maybe he just was with your mom and split, just left. It's like, see ya. Planted a seed, and I'm gone. Maybe some of you experienced that. Maybe some of you experienced, I don't know which is worse. You know, maybe an abusive relationship. Maybe he was abusive with your mom, abusive to you, your siblings, whatever. Your mother finally had enough and said, "We're out of here." Maybe you had a father that, and I see this, I've seen this in Christian settings where the father's kind of a milquetoast, soft, just kind of there. I'm a good Christian man, and la da 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 da, and I love God, I love Jesus. But he's not really a leader. He's just kind of there. Now, some of you might have a unicorn. This guy's everything. This guy's William Wallace. This guy's good Christian man, hard worker, good provider, protector. It's probably a unicorn. I'm not sure any of us have experienced that. Maybe you have. If you have, God bless you, and put it in the comments. Speaking of comments, I'm going to check them out here in a minute. And as you guys know that have watched this show, I don't do that a lot, but today might be a little bit different. You have a question, a comment, something you'd like to share, that'd be awesome. Speaking of sharing, if you'd share this out, that'd be very cool, whether you're watching on YouTube right now or on our AutoMax Facebook page. That'd be cool. I'd appreciate that. But I think a lot of times, and I know, and I'm speaking for myself, and I'm going to speak for my two sons right now, and then I'm going to speak for my daughters, because it's a whole different thing. I think this was pointed out to me, and it never really hit me until it was pointed out to me. But for me, it seems to be true that a man and a woman come together and they have a child. If the mother is a mentally and emotionally healthy, even to a certain degree, it seems as though, and there is science to back this up, that she just naturally has an infinity for her child. It's an instant bond. Almost unexplainable. Well, I guess it could be explained that this little person was growing inside her body for 8-9 months or however long. And so nature and the nurture of that child inside her body has created a bond that's unique. I don't think it can be duplicated with a man. I think what's been pointed out to me, and something that I've given a great deal of thought over the years, maybe too much, that being a father consists of making a decision. This might sound brutal, but a decision of, do I love this child? Now, I can tell you firsthand, in all 4 cases of my children being born, first one, Jessica, was long enough to where birthing was a little more brutal, frankly. My second one, Erica, was things that started to change in the way birthing was done. My oldest son, Joe, was in a birthing room, a pretty nice hotel room, pretty nice environment. And my fourth little booger, Kyle, was actually born at home with a midwife. Thought that would be cool. Get to be born with his siblings. They're all downstairs watching TV. It's not a big deal to them. I thought it was pretty cool. Even got written up in a local newspaper. But I think that as a man, as a father, I think that we literally make a choice. We have a choice to make. Am I going to love and help grow this human being? Some make a decision to do it. They stick it out. They stay. They're present. And others don't. My story is a little bit of both. I think when you, I was just talking to Adam here before the show started, millionaire producer Adam's back. Hi, Adam. Good morning.
Hey, Craig.
How's my friend?
Fantastic.
You guys got to follow Adam on Instagram. That picture of you and your son, was that through All Systems Go AV, or is that through your personal Instagram?
That was through my personal Instagram. I don't post much.
Yeah.
Other than,
Yeah.
happy birthday to my wife, and
Right.
when she does nice things for me, and she got me a picture. We sent in a picture and it got it made, and it's my son and I.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Dressed up as was like old time royalty,
like Napoleon or something.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It's
It
a
was
fun
like
looking picture.
awesome picture. What is? I know you're Irish, so your last name?
Papandreou. It's Italian.
Yeah, no kidding.
Everyone thinks it's Greek.
Yeah, I thought it was Greek. That's right. I think we've had this discussion. How do you spell your last name?
Papandrea.
Okay, so guys, follow him on Instagram. Follow Adam, and if you can't, if you didn't write his name down there, follow All Systems Go AV, and then he likes all that stuff, and then you'll be able to pick up him or Dave or Chris, one of his partners there. But it's a good follow. It's a great picture. But how you doing, man? I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. You good?
It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you
It's
back.
been a long time since I've been in the studio. I know Dave's been doing the past couple.
I know. I got nothing
Group
against
podcast.
Porn Stash Dave, but it's always good to have millionaire producer Adam back. It's always good. So
Yeah, I had to get reused to the whole flow of things again.
yeah,
Feels like it's been a year since we've been in here.
I know, man. It does. It's been a while. What show number are we on right now?
This is 51.
51. Wow. Amazing. I didn't think we'd lost 2 weeks. That's not true. I guess I should pick up on some Bob Prince. That's right, Brian. Figures you know, you Pittsburgh crazy person. Tricia, my husband has read Wild at Heart. He loved it. Oh, that's awesome. Good morning, John Huey, Uncle Mike, Rob, Tricia, Anthony. We have clients in Newburgh, New York. That's interesting. Shelley. You guys are awesome. So I think a lot of times this comes down to a choice. I really do. I think it comes down to a choice. And luckily, oh, I know where I was going with this. Luckily, I chose to love my children. All in different ways, which I don't think is unusual. I love them all deeply and dearly. But my relationship with each of them is different and unique. Some need more of this and less of that, and so on. Now, this podcast is loosely titled, or is titled, Absent Father, Absent Leader, Automotive. So what's this have to do with leadership in a car dealership? And I'll get back into this a little bit here as we go. And I think, I don't think you have to be a genius to see the correlation or draw a line between these two things, but we have leaders at car dealerships, whether you're a dealer principal, general manager, or fixed ops director, or whatever your title is, where you are leading people. It sometimes amazes us. This is not a shot on any of y'all. It really isn't. It shocks me sometimes. When I ran car dealerships, it seemed like I was there constantly, like a lot of hours. And I know a lot of you men and women are. I also find it interesting that, did you get a hold of so-and-so? No, she's off today. Wasn't she off yesterday? Yeah, she's taking a day and a half. And that's awesome. That's great that we're able to do that. It's worthwhile. Are you at the store? This is going to be weird. Are you at the store enough? More importantly, while you're there, are you truly present? Is that open door policy a word phrase, or is that real? And does an open door policy mean that someone can just barge in there and start puking out, my life sucks, and so-and-so just skated me, and so-and-so just hit on me, and so-and-so's a bitch, and on and on and on and on. Is that the open door policy? Or is the open door policy, boy, I hate these two words put together, a safe place for an employee to come, be able to close the door, and really find out about life in and out of a car dealership? What is our job as a leader at a car dealership? What is our job? See, what happened, to jump back to the story about the Lockerds. So ultimately, my parents got divorced. My dad met another woman, fact be known, left my mom. I was pretty angry. Felt pretty sorry for my mom. Was pretty pissed off at my dad. This was shortly after he took me and my college roommate to the Playboy Club. I think there was one I think it was in Cincinnati. If Mark Tewart's listening, he'd know this. Not that Mark goes to Playboy clubs, but he lives down in that area. Maybe the Bucks know. There used to be a Playboy club down there, like with bunnies, with the ears and the whole thing. And he took us in there. And I'll never forget that my dad looked like a movie star. I mean, like a movie star, man. Like I'm talking about handsome. I can remember as a kid, he had a used car lot, and there was a diner across the street. I can remember him walking in a diner, man, this place would stop. All the waitresses in this place would just stop and look at my dad. I mean, dude was a movie star. He's still a good-looking guy at 92. I just got a phone with him here half hour ago, 45 minutes ago. But, so my parents get divorced. He gets remarried. He finds God. Now, I was growing up, I don't know how many times we went to church. Wasn't much. Probably a handful. Maybe a couple Easters, maybe a couple Christmases, maybe. Depending on who I was dating in high school, they all happened to be Catholic girls. Maybe they're the most vulnerable. That's why I picked them. I don't know. That's a whole other story. But so there's midnight mass. I thought that was kind of pretty. It was kind of cool. Didn't believe in any of it. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about God. Like nothing. Wasn't brought up in our family. Wasn't brought up in my house. When you talk about God, now you're just, jumping ahead, back and forth here a little bit. So my dad gets remarried, finds God, starts going to a church, drags me to this church with then my wife, Bobby, the mother of my children, a place called the Chapel up in in Akron, Ohio. Dave Burnham, I think, was the pastor's name. Awesome guy, as I recall. And I got into it for a while. Got into it for a while. Got out of it. Got into it, got out of it. One of the things I remember most, still to this day, see, I'm an only child. And I'll admit that I have this so-called father wound, and I'll talk about that more here real soon. And I realize I have this father wound. So it was easy getting my head around Jesus. It was easy. He's a son, right? So he's like an older brother. He's a son. So the Spirit, I'll go a little religious on you here for a moment. So the Spirit brings you to Jesus, and Jesus forgives you. But the Father fixes you. The Father's there for you. He teaches you. See, before Jesus ever gave a sermon, when John baptized him, Jesus is not, hadn't performed a miracle, didn't chase demons out of anybody yet, nothing. And he came out of that water, and his Father told him how proud of him he was. He hadn't done anything yet. That's what he told him. I can't imagine what that must have felt like. Not sure how that must have felt like. So the father wound. Let me get back to that. So the father wound consists of a lot of different words. Am I good enough? Am I good enough, Dad? Dad, can I measure up? Do you approve of me? Am I worthy of your approval? What's next, Dad? What do I do? What do I do about this girl? What do I do about money? What do I do about work? What do I do about a career? Where to live? How to live? Putting one foot in front of another, you know. As men, our frontal lobes aren't fully developed until we're like somewhere in the area of 25 years old. There doesn't seem to be any customs anymore in when you've become a man or a grown-up. You know, I guess you can smoke cigarettes at such an age, you can drink at a certain age, vote, so forth. You know, there's a tribe in Africa, I think it's called the Moshe tribe, that you become a man when you can kill a lion with a spear. That's when you actually become a man. In the Jewish religion, I guess a bar mitzvah is at, what is it, Adam? 12, 13? 13, I think.
13.
Yeah. And that's when you become an adult man or woman, I guess. Seems a little archaic. Little young. But who am I to judge? So in this father wound, am I good enough? Do you approve of me? Do I have what it takes? Do I have what it takes? Do you love me? So if you're a leader, manager at a car dealership, how different is that? No matter what department that you're running in that dealership, your children, your team members, employees, are asking you the same question somewhere within themselves. Boss, do you approve of me? Boss, do you really think I have what it takes to be successful? Where do we go from here? What do I do next? Do you love me? Now, as leaders in a car dealership, typically we get picked to be a leader in a car dealership. I know I did because I outsold everybody else. I had no business being a leader. I had no clue. I hadn't been taught how to be a leader. How am I going to lead other men and women if I haven't been led myself? I'm not laying blame here. My dad didn't know. He didn't know. He was left with himself and 3 siblings in this little town in New York in a shack with a strict Scottish mother. Ended up being a school teacher for 50-some years. No one taught him. No one probably taught George, my grandfather. And it just perpetuates itself. So, of course, over a certain period of time, about a year after my youngest son, Kyle, was born, I split. Notice a pattern? Patterns can be broken. Most patterns need to be broken. I think you need to be self-aware enough to understand that and self-regulated enough to actually make that happen. And it's not easy. And it's probably a forever endeavor. Not unlike learning about emotional intelligence is. It's a constant, something we have to go over time and time again. You know, I don't know how long ago it was now, frankly. I should know this because it was a life-changing moment for my son Kyle and I. But I remember him being over at my home here probably a couple years ago. Him sitting in a chair and I was in the other room standing. And he said to me, "Dad, do you even like me? Do you even like me?" Typically, and this time I didn't, but typically I would say, "What the fuck are you talking about? Do I even like you? You're my son. Of course I like you. I love you." That's just the natural thing to say, right? This time I chose not to say anything for a moment. This time I decided to have a discussion on why he felt that way. And maybe what things I had done or am doing to make him ask that question. You know, see, I thought even though I was absent for in his case, literally all of his life, I always thought sending money as much as I could made up for everything. It like even the scorecard. It's like, that's not the way it works. You certainly should keep up with your financial responsibilities if you've left the family, without a doubt. You deadbeats that don't, shame on you. Just shame on you. Just shame on you. But it's more than writing a check. Or he would have never asked me that question. And he's had a pretty rocky road, that boy. Pretty rocky road. Lot of trouble. Lot of trouble. You know, see, there's a lot of things that you can't get back. You can't take that new hire and start playing catch with him again after he or she's been with you 6 months, 9 months, a year. You can't go in the backyard and start playing catch with them again and think everything's going to be okay. I can't go back and play with my 6-7-year-old son Joe and play catch with the boy. It sucks. I can't go back and teach my daughters about men walking around with penises doing whatever the hell they want to do. The good ones from the bad ones. What to watch out for. I can't go back and say, "Hey, have a great day." Or at the end of the day, "How was your day?" And listen. And help when needed. Listen and help when needed. As a leader at a car dealership, are we able to do that? Are we able to start every day being present And instead of having a beat-up meeting, you suck. I hate you as a child. You suck as an employee. I hate you as a child. You suck as an employee. Make a decision. Either get out, find something else to do, or learn how to be a leader. Learn how to be a father in your tribe. Be present. Be there. That new hire is wondering if they're good enough. They're wondering if they measure up. Do they? And if not, whose fault is that? Whose responsibility is that to turn that around? Is it theirs? Is it yours, or is it shared? If you guys have any comments, throw them in there. I'll try to watch it every once in a while and answer something if something needs answered. Or if there's something more you want me to cover along these lines. We're going to get pretty deep. We haven't gotten deep enough already. As a leader at a car dealership and you're in the F&I office, if we're using that kind of system and everything is changing and pivoting so quickly, who knows what's going on anymore. But I love are you kidding me? Where am I supposed to get that shit bought? Go fill this out properly. Come on, man. Was he or she taught? Were you present during that part of their training and development? Were you there? Were you there to tell them about the way boys are? Were you there to tell them about paperwork? Were you there to answer the question, boss, do you really think I can do this? Do I measure up? Was your father there to assure you that you do? And or have you been for yours? Can it change? Yes. We don't actually get actual mulligans, like hit another shot and it doesn't count. We get some do-overs. My children are awesome. They're awesome. My son Joe, I'll be careful because I don't know how much he wants me to, we didn't talk about this, so how far to go with this, but he had a real hard time with me leaving. Real hard time. 6 years old, 7 years old. It's a rough time, man. I am blessed to have kind of a do-over sort of kind of thing with my friend and assistant Joanna's son, Brendan. He's going to be 6 here next month. And some of the stuff I screwed up with my boys. And now Brendan doesn't have a father. He split. Real piece of work. And I'm able to step in there a little bit and help, I think. I think I'm helping. Pretty sure I'm helping. One of the things I'm helping with, and maybe this will help you, see, when little boys start to grow up, they have no idea what their boundaries are. Do I measure up boundary? And typically it's physical. So when him and I are hanging out together, I let him go full force at me. So he knows he can measure where he's at as a man, as a young boy. I got bruises all over my body. He happens to be really good at karate, and he's getting bigger and stronger. So it's like the kicks and so forth are getting a little more intense. But see, my sons didn't have that. Because even when I was there, and it's not like I was out every night, drunk every night. I was a really weird alcoholic, very strange alcoholic. I rarely drank at home. I was more of a bar drinker. I don't know, but when I was home, I was just remote control. Man, put the remote control down. Come out from around your desk. Put the remote control down. Fatherhood, absent father. Come out from around your desk, absent leader. See, I know I taught my sons how to play basketball. We had a hoop, never let them win. You guys can get on me. I don't care what your thoughts are on all that, frankly. I know one thing, when they both beat me in golf for the first time, was a pretty big deal to them. Pretty big deal, because I did not let them win until they deserved to and beat me fair and square. Right or wrong, I don't know. But somehow, mostly based on their mom, when I wasn't driving her crazy, because, like, she didn't sign up for all of this. She didn't think her life was going to be as chaotic as it was, and having to raise 4 kids by herself. She didn't know. She wasn't prepared for it. She made mistakes. Who wouldn't? Who could raise 4 kids by themselves? I mean, who? Regardless of how much money I sent. Who? I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, people do it, obviously. She did it. And for the most part, my kids turn out great. You know? We're not all politically aligned. That's for sure. They are for sure independent thinkers. Let me just get back to my son Joe for a minute. So he's really bright. So he wanted to impress me. I remember one time, I think we were at the gym at Walsh College, and he had a big game. And Joe loved to hoist up 3-pointers. I mean, loved it and was good at it. And for whatever reason, I'm at this game, and he's clanking them. And I can't imagine the feeling he must have felt. Shit. I don't measure up. My dad can't be proud of me. He didn't deserve that. Not his fault. Should never come to that. I don't. How long did he carry that around? Does he still? I don't know. I know one thing, that he excelled in college. He's very bright. He came out of college, couldn't find a real job, ended up starting at the bottom rung of AutoMax. What? I don't know. God, it seems like forever ago, but it's been, 15 years, I guess, at least. And the title of Director of Operations of AutoMax and founder and president of MaxSafe Consulting are not given titles. Frankly, truth be known, most of the revenue that's created through AutoMax or MaxSafe Consulting is directly or indirectly related to him. If, God forbid, something happened to him tomorrow, there'd be no more AutoMax, or it'd look far different. So, son, do you measure up? Yeah, 100%. Dad, are you proud of me? I don't know how I could be any prouder. My son Kyle, since he asked me, do you even like me? Our relationship has changed completely, and he's changed as a man and is changing every day. Completely changed as a man. My daughters, it's a different relationship. Fathers and daughters, fathers and sons, man, it is night and day, has been my experience. Like I said, they're both very independent, very far left leaning. God, I don't know, should I say some of this stuff or not? But the other day, my one daughter put out a group text, all of us, to watch Oprah on I think it was a 2-part, ended up to about a 2-hour show, and then the 846 of Dave Chappelle in regard to the murder. And I said I'd watch it. And I watched it. And I don't like Oprah. I don't trust any billionaire. I don't care what color you are. I got a problem with billionaires. Not quite sure what their agendas really are. But I watched it. And I watched the Isabell 846. Because she asked me to. I didn't want to. I knew up front what it was going to be based on. Not all of which I agree with. But I told her, I was present. I told her that I would, so I did. When you as a leader at the dealership tell someone that you're going to do something, follow through and do it. You cannot placate your employees anymore. They expect more out of you. When you're present at the dealership, they expect you to be present. They expect you to develop them every single morning. Send them off to school properly. They do not expect, nor do they deserve, to be yelled at or ignored. They deserve, need, crave to be developed. Things are changing, boys and girls. Things are changing in the automobile industry. I don't know where it's going to go. We're changing and making changes that, I don't know, might last 30 days and we might trash them. I don't care. We're making plans 30 days at a time. Plus 3 months out, 6 months out, a year out, and 5 years out. And longer. But something that we work on for a month, month and a half, 2 months, we might trash tomorrow. We got something coming out called Rapid Recruiting. It's point and click. It's Amazon AutoMax, man. May or may not work, don't know. We're going to actually put pricing on a website. We're going to be a service company that puts pricing on a website. So all our competitors can look and see what we're charging and charge a little less. I'm going to try it. We're going to try, for lack of a better term, subscription-based recruiting. Rather than a la carte, you sign up for a subscription. Again, click and pay, save a crap load of money. Will it work? I don't know. Probably. If it doesn't, we scrap it. And it just costs Brian Stroka a whole bunch of time, and Ernie and me. So going forward, what happens? So my children, and Joe happens to be, and I won't get real deep into this, but Joe happens to just lucked out and find this really awesome guy to be talking to that another friend and colleague of ours is talking to, and we as a company might all end up talking to, for lack of a better word, and I hate this word, it's a life coach type of deal. Not really motivation, but how to actually make effective state change. And we might all go through the program. I don't know. Costs a bunch of money. I'll tell you that. But I know one thing, that he's good enough. And he's going to be good enough. And I know one thing about these 4 children is this, that my daughter, my oldest daughter, was with a man quite a while. Her first husband did not do the right thing. I warned him, but he did not. He has actually improved over the years, based on, in my opinion, based on her. She met another man that she was with for quite a while. That didn't work out. And then she lucked out and met a gentleman by the name of Sean Thomas that is freaking awesome. Just happens to be in the car business. And is a beautiful man. A good man. And they're raising my grandson Owen, my oldest grandson, and doing the best they can with him. There's bumps and bruises, yeah. What a wonderful, sweet, bright, awesome young man he is and will become. My next daughter's raising a biracial son. A lot of this, I don't think I've mentioned this on all the noise that's going on Facebook and so forth. I'm real involved in Twitter, but in Facebook, I don't want to get in these arguments. I'm not gonna. And if you think my silence is compliant, I don't really care what you think, frankly. I just really don't care. But I don't think I've mentioned it on Facebook, but my one grandson is biracial. And to look at him, and I think he identifies mostly as black, and to look at him, he's black. And he's gone through his more than his fair share of bullying and bullshit because of the color of his skin. His father's a total piece of garbage. In and out of jail. I don't know, I lost track, 4 or 5 women pregnant. And he just split. My first conversation I ever met with him, I got him in a car and I said, here's what you got to do. How much money do you make? And he told me, and it was like a pittance. I said, here's what you need to make minimum. I don't care if it takes you 1 job or 5 jobs. This is what you're going to make to take care of my daughter. Because if you think you're going to get a free ride from dad, ain't happening. And if you touch this woman inappropriately, I'm going to come after you with a baseball bat. And he did, and I did. And he left and never returned. Good riddance. My daughter took back her name, the family name, Lockerd. And my boy Elijah James, is Elijah James Lockerd. I'm pretty proud of that. And he's going to grow up to be a good young man. My son Joe got blessed with 3 daughters. Ha ha. And an amazing wife. Totally lucked out on the wife. Totally lucked out on the wife. Totally lucked out. Good job, Christina. And as hard as it is, he's raising 3 girls and leading 2 companies. You know, people talk about work-life balance. There really isn't, oh boy, there's a whole nother topic. But there really isn't such a thing. It's life. Life is life. So you at the dealership, as a leader at the dealership, have to understand that life is life. See, let me tell you a quick little story. When I was younger, I had a hard time dealing with older people, more mature people. I was early 20s and a knucklehead, and, you know, I won't go into it, but, you know, it's just a knucklehead. I hadn't been taught a lot of things, frankly. So I had a hard time talking to older people. And I'd come in and I'd just walk into the manager's office and start bitching and complaining about something. And maybe some of you have heard this technique before. I'd never heard of it before. I haven't heard of it exactly the same way since, but he called it a trouble tree. And what he told me, this is going to sound really odd to you. It's going to sound even odder that I did it for 2 months. But he told me to take a coat hanger and put it in the back seat of my car on the driver's side. And on the way to work in the morning, if I was all jammed up about something that had happened at home, to stop the car, pull alongside the road, find a tree, mentally take a picture of any or all of those troubles, hang them like a tie over the hanger, put the hanger on the tree, get back in your car and go to work. Then, if you wanted to take that crap home with you bad enough, go the same way home that you went to work in, stop at that same tree, take that hanger off that tree, put it back in there, put all that crap back in your head and take it all back home. Probably not the best idea to do. So I stopped doing it. See, it was another man that told me to do that. It wasn't my father. Again, not his fault. See, my dad and I made up a few years ago. There's a lot more to the story. I've told the story in parts over the years about him selling the dealership and all that. I never really got to be a PhD. Papa has dealership. I had to figure out most of the stuff on my own, which is fine. It's fine. We didn't have the best of relationships. I didn't really make any effort to make it any better, frankly. Actually, I was kind of pissed off. I felt that he had picked his wife and his wife's kids over me. So I drugged that around with me for a while. Stupid. And then I don't know, I haven't given it that much thought. It was probably, 14, 15 years ago, through a series of phone calls, we kind of made up, quote unquote. Frankly, in my opinion and in my recollection of it, I probably gave a little bit more than I received in that apology, but I don't care. I don't care because life's short. My dad's 92 years old. Life's freaking short, man. So if you're a man or a woman and you're listening to this and you're suffering the quote unquote father wound, am I good enough? Will I measure up? What's next? And so on and so forth. You got to look to fix that. You got to get with the parent. You got to find a way to be a better parent. There's a lot of good stuff online. I'll tell you something. If you want to watch 4 minutes, 5 minutes of something, Google, I think you'll find it this way, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air father wound. Some of you that were Fresh Prince aficionados might remember this scene where his father came back into his life for a brief period of time and they were going to go on a trip somewhere, and the guy, of course, he bailed. And then the last 60 seconds of it, I don't think I can explain any better, but Google something like, you'll find it. It's like 4 or 5 minute long clip. Father wound, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, something like that. You'll find it. It's 4 or 5 minutes long. Uncle, what was his name? Uncle Phil? Is that his uncle's name? The guy that
Uncle Phil.
Uncle Phil. That's the guy that actually raised him, right? Yeah. So I forget who his father was. Was it Ben Vereen in this scene? I forget. Oh, whatever. Doesn't matter. Oh, guys, complete sidebar. So for COVID, Schweppes has something called quinine in it. 4 ounces of quinine a day, 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C, 10,000 IUs of vitamin D, and 100 milligrams of zinc. Lots of sleep, work out. I also happen to be on a carnivore diet. Blue Twisted Steel, youngest man in the car business. That's just a sidebar. Let me look through some of this stuff, see what's going on here. Oh, you actually watched that, huh, Anthony? It was a pretty good scene. You remember stuff like that. It's crazy. A lot of good stuff from Anthony and so forth in there. If you guys would share this stuff out, it'd be awesome. Really appreciate it. It'd be awesome. How do you become a better leader? You have to be present. You can't be absent. And when you're there, you have to be aware. See, awareness, self-awareness, is one of the pillars of emotional intelligence. Being self-aware. Who are you? What are you capable of? So we're all probably capable of a little bit more. Are you there for the people that are under your charge? You are, in fact, responsible to be. Think of this business. Think about what's happened. See, up until February, everything was going along just fine. Hey, $5,000 gross. High five. You're awesome. And then the Chinese flu came. Yeah, I said Chinese flu. Sue me. The Chinese flu came, and a whole bunch of decisions were made. One was to shut down the entire freaking economy. And then people had to pivot. People had to figure out how to do touchless car deals. They were even allowed to be, quote unquote, open. Cost us a fortune. We're losing, for more time than I care to mention, $5,000 a day. A day. Like actual loss. $5,000 a day. Like zero business. Plus paying out. Losing 5 G's a day. That, I don't know if that's a lot or a little bit of money to you. To me, it's a lot of money. So we had to pivot, and then all of a sudden, in part of April and May, you start seeing record-setting numbers. It's weird. Record-setting numbers. So what happened? Well, Craig, we were forced to do business a different way because of the coronavirus and COVID-19 and order, shelter in place and shelter in place rather, and we had to do things differently. Yes, it shouldn't take a pandemic to do things differently. We have to heal the father wound with your employees, with your team members. If you're physically there, be there. If you call the office or you reach out to a trainer and say, hey, I need to do a class, which I hate that word anyway, class. If you need to do a recruiting campaign, if you need new hires, regardless of the position, have a plan in place. We're not the body snatchers. We're not creating the walking dead. We deal in human beings of all color, sex, age. Doesn't matter to us. We don't look at names on resumes and try to figure out if they're black or white or Hispanic or Asian or what have you. We look at resumes based on merit. We vet and schedule accordingly, as do the recruiter trainers that are on site. So if you call us, say, I need people. I need them yesterday, man. Because we've done it so long, we've done it so many times. Yeah, we can do that. That's not a problem. But are you going to be present? Or are you going to be calling us again in another 2 months? Well, that group sucked. How could 6 people suck in 2 months? Did you hire them dead, or did you kill them after you got them? Are you present? Were you present? Will you be present? Will you answer their questions? Hey, boss, do I measure up? Am I good enough? Do you love me? If you're not going to be present, if you're not going to change or look to change, don't call. Don't call. There's a couple other recruiting companies out there that'll grab your dough. Don't call. We operate under something called don't take dishonest dollars. Now, it has a lot of different meanings. One of the meanings is that oftentimes, especially during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, other people were filling in other roles in the car dealership, and dealers would send us 2 or 3 checks. And sending those checks back when you're not getting any money gets harder and harder. But if we took that money, they'd never know. They would never know. But we would be taking that money dishonestly. But another taking of dishonest dollars is knowing that we put a group full of quality, talented human beings in a car dealership, and 2 months later they're gone. Wasn't the people, typically. Wasn't the people. It's what we did when we got them. See, I'm going to pivot a little bit here with the father wound and absent father, absent leader. Do you have a plan in place for that new hire? Or is it the same old thing? Hey, yeah, shoot. You're showing, today's the day you start? Oh, boy. Okay, well, look at, go clean off that desk over there Hey, Susie, get, what's your name again? Yeah, get Bill here a employee packet. Hey, Billy boy, just go over there, clean off a spot in that desk there if you can find an opening, and fill that stuff out. And then when you're done, take it to Maureen there. She'll handle it. Okay, and then we'll get your training started. First of all, a lot of that can be done electronically. It can be done at home. If you have any questions about that, ask us. Don't do that stuff at the dealership. It's a waste of time. It's baloney. It shows no plan at all. Put a plan together. Welcome that new hire. See, it starts immediately. Do I measure up? Am I good enough? The father wound, the absent father, the absent leader starts day one. Starts right from jump. Be there. Be present. Do not be absent. See, ladies and gentlemen, you can change this. You don't have to go to a seminar, a 20-group meeting. You don't have to watch anything online except the Recruiter podcast. Only kidding. Sort of. You don't have to spend a crap load of money. Just think about your own life. What was missing from it? What's missing still? Can it be fixed? Can it be repairable? And how does that correlate to how you do your job? How does it correlate to take care of your family? Are you sending your family to school, out into the floor or out into the shop or whatever the case might be, with the best possible information? Are you doing that every day? Do you love or care enough about your team members to be able to sit down and have a conversation with them about anything? See, people want to feel like they're in on things. A family, a child wants to feel like they're in on things, like they're part of the decision of the family. Sometimes they don't understand the instruction or direction. Wouldn't it be a good idea to double back and say, do you understand what I'm asking of you? I heard a story the other day online, or it was a video actually, and this father was talking to his son. He had, I don't know, 3 or 4 kids or something, and they were planning a vacation, and the father was selling the little boy on, this is going to be so good. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And we're going to go here. And we're going to go do that. And the little boy goes, I ain't going. So the father sold a little bit more. But we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And you're going to love it. It's going to be awesome. He said, I ain't going. What do you mean you're not going? It's like, this is awesome. I'm not going. And he said, well, son, I don't understand. Why wouldn't you want to go with me on this trip? Oh, you're going too, Dad? Well, sure, I'll go. See, sometimes our team members, they don't understand. They don't hear the whole story. So as leaders, I know I don't do, hey, do not under any circumstances look at me and think I got all the answers. I got way more questions than answers. Way more. But I think overall, as an industry and as leaders in your businesses, in your department, we need to understand that our people, quote unquote, are asking themselves almost on a daily basis, do I measure up? Am I good enough? What's next? On a daily basis. sometimes moment by moment. Sometimes, I don't know if there's any science to back this up, but perhaps subconsciously. Perhaps. I think that's one of the reasons video games are so popular, where a guy can sit there in front of a video game and he can blow shit up and control his destiny. Because at the end of the game, one of two things can happen. He can either, quote unquote, win, so he measured up, or he can hit the reset button. It's too easy in life to hit the reset button. Don't like my marriage? Bang, reset button. Don't like my kids? Bang, reset button. Don't like my employees? Bang, reset button. Call AutoMax. Hey, look, we love your calls. Keep calling. Let's retain these people a little longer. Let's develop them. Let's be real leaders. Let's go real leadership on them. You know, to go a little bit more, my son Joe has been talking about this for months on Friday at 5 on his show on Facebook about emotional intelligence. And there's, and for me, it's a constant thing to try to get my head around. And the ones that ring true to me of the pillars is empathy, self-regulation, and self-awareness. Self-regulation is very important, especially in the automobile industry. I don't know about all y'all, but I've been and held hundreds. Wow, maybe more. No, let's stick with hundreds. Hundreds of you suck meetings. Hundreds of sending them out to school for the day in a you won't amount to anything mode. You suck. You're never going to amount to anything. You're just not. You're average at best. At best. So just go get a C. Don't get suspended. Try not to get in a fight. Don't get anybody pregnant. And have my beer ready for me when I get home. How far away from that are we as leaders? How far away? Real far away? Not far away at all? What all you got for me in here? Scott Sullins, great leaders question everything. Yeah, I think that's true. I think we do question a lot and should. You better have the answers too. Or, at best, be able to have a conversation. See, self-awareness, part of one of the pillars of emotional intelligence is being self-aware. In other words, man got to know his weaknesses or his limitations. What do I know and what don't I know? Don't bullshit people. People know when you're bullshitting them, typically. When your team members come to you, have a conversation like you would with a child, like we should with our children. Like we should, like we must. Have a conversation. You can start today. You have an open door policy. So what's wrong with inviting them in, sitting on the bed with your child? So what's up? How was your day? What's going on? You don't look that happy. What's happening? I don't do it enough. Need to do it, and we'll do it more. What's wrong with that? Being proactive with it. You have an open door policy. You see somebody dragging around, you can tell body language, tonality, words that they use, all the forms of communication. It's not that tough. Hey, dude, come on in. Have a seat. What up? Nothing. yeah, yeah, there is. Come on, man. Talk to me like you know me. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but maybe I can help. Or if nothing else, I'll just sit here and listen. What's going on? You wouldn't understand. Try me. Well, I got this, and that. I hear you. What are you thinking about doing about it? Well, I don't know. I was kind of hoping that you could help me a little bit on it. Boom! Things changed. Be prepared for that. See, as leaders, we're all parents. And as parents, we should all be leaders. Now, I commit to try to do a better job at both of those. How about you? What do you want to do? Do you want to be a better leader at your dealership? How do you measure that? Well, sold more cars this year than I did sold more cars this June than I did last June. Great. How's your turnover? How'd your people do? Are their lives any better? You bought a bigger boat, but are their lives any better? Because at the end of the day, dude, ain't nobody counting how many feet your boat is. It don't matter. It's not fitting in that coffin. They're not going to burn it with you. It's not going in the tomb. But man, that man or woman that you helped, they're going to sing your praises at that funeral. What do you want to do to become a better father or mother? It's freaking hard, man. I see some women online. I don't know how they do it. I really don't. I really don't know how they do it. But they do it, and they find a way. I know one in particular, Elise Kephart. I see at least what I see, because I don't talk to her all the time, but at least what I see online, and just to pick her out. Now, I could be totally wrong. Elise and I know each other fairly well, but like, she does a crap load of business, man. She does real well. She has a good company. She's the real deal. But she also seems to be very present in her daughter's lives. To me, at least. It's the way it appears online. You can appear to be anyway online, I suppose. But I choose to believe that that's probably the case. And I don't think it happened overnight. See, she was adopted. See, her parents didn't naturally love her. They had to learn to love her, like a father has to learn to love a child, as opposed to a woman, just, in my opinion, and scientifically. A woman is more likely, a healthy woman, mentally and emotionally, is more likely to bond with that child than the father is. The father has to learn to love that child. We as leaders have to learn to love our team members and our employees. And sometimes it's not easy because some of you aren't lovable. And you know who you are. Some of you are a pain in the ass. But it's okay because they're your kids. They're your team. So, yeah, so watch that thing. Watch that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air thing. It was pretty cool. is pretty cool. You know, something else, when I was preparing for this and thinking about this, I can remember it's been quite a few years ago. I went to a conference. I forget who it was. It was a big ass conference. It was the one at that Saban spoke at, I think. Whoever was there. Mark Stewart was there. Matter of fact, Mark and I sat next to each other. There was a couple people there. Who else was there? Whatever. But Tracy Myers was there. And there was a conversation going on, and it seemed to be like following me. It's like how awesome these people's families were, how awesome their children were, how awesome their family life was. And it was man, woman, children, man, woman, children, man, woman, children. And boy, did my jealousy gene kick in, man. Whew, wow. Like, man, I want to be like that. Why isn't my family like that? Well, let's see. Your grandfather split when your father was one. Your dad didn't have a clue. Then he split. Then you got married. You split. You didn't really take any time to learn how to do this. So you better start learning. Now, I also think half of it's BS, because I think it's a unicorn out there that everything's perfect. I don't expect perfection. I don't expect it in myself. I don't expect it in my children. I expect that we all love and respect each other and that we do the very, very, very best that we can in our lives, in our business, to kind of flow into each other. And I, for one, want to do better. I want to learn how to be better. I want to be a better friend. I want to be a better leader. I want to be a better father and grandfather. I love being a grandfather. It's the most amazing thing in the world. And I get to see my granddaughters in 2 weeks. And my oldest granddaughter, Maddie's birthday. Going to be 7 years old. Unbelievable. Unreal. So absent leader, absent father. Don't be absent. Be there. But more importantly, while you're there, be present. Listen, look, engage. I got to do a better job with that. I have to. Both as a father and a grandfather and as a leader. We have a pretty big company. We have a lot of people in my morning meditation and my prayer. I ask that God bless all the employees, the team members, and their families abundantly. I ask that they're all protected from everything. I pray for our leaders. I would hope that the families of the people that work with us are better. And if they need me, that they feel that they can reach out to me. And don't expect all the correct answers, because I don't have them. But I'll listen to you. Like I try to listen to my children. I try. It's hard. But I try to listen, because that's how you learn. So, just a little homework. Google father wound. Google John Eldridge. Now, a lot of it is, excuse me, a lot of it is spiritual in nature. So you're going to have to get past that. Shoot, one of the notes I wanted to write down here, I'm going to have to make some of this stuff up. Let's see. Number of books on leadership. Guys, you can Google this for me, but it was somewhere around 30,000, which sounds light to me. I think it was probably more. Books on leadership, 30,000. Books on management, even higher. Seminars, out the ass. 10x Growth Con. Don't get me started. But, Alien Growth Con. So, and some really awesome people go to that, and so I'm not talking bad about you, but it's consider the source, man. Level 8 in Scientology, it's a little freaky, so check it out. But tons of seminars about leadership. But try to find a book outside of religion, outside of worship, outside of Christianity. Look for a book about fatherhood and how it correlates to leadership. Good luck with that. Seminars, other than church or an organization like Promise Keepers, good luck with that. There aren't any. Plus this podcast. Hopefully it helped you a little bit. I don't know. Look, what I would ask you to do is share this stuff out. And I'd love to. I thought there'd be more dialogue. Maybe I sucked. Maybe I didn't handle it right. I don't know. But I really thought there'd be more dialogue because I'd really like to know how you feel about this stuff. I really do. And I'll go back later tonight when I'm working on the YouTube version of this and tagging it and all that. Let me look over your stuff and maybe I can offer up some additional insight. But what I want to leave you with is this, that regardless of what's happened to you in your past, regardless, you got to forgive. And then, again, just briefly to make it biblical, the Spirit brings you to Jesus, Jesus being a son. I can relate to being a son. But the Father heals us. So I'm looking for healing. And that's what you should be looking for. And if you're lucky enough to have a father still alive, have a conversation with him before he passes. I think it's probably pretty important. Don't let things left unsaid. Be nice. But tell him how you feel. You might be surprised what you hear or don't hear. Might surprise you. That healing has to take place. And as a leader at the dealership, ask the questions and shut up and listen. We have an opportunity in the automobile industry that has never presented itself ever before. No, that's not true. Probably since the start of franchise agreements. We have an opportunity to completely... In the automobile business, ladies and gentlemen, retail sales went up 17.7% yesterday. Job claims went up 8 billion percent the week before, 2 weeks before, whatever it was. You know what's weird? I don't see automobile dealerships mentioned much. And I'm here to tell you that without question, with zero doubt in my mind, with absolutely no second thought whatsoever, the automobile industry as a whole completely determines the outcome of all this madness economically. And if you follow the money, poverty begets crime. Economy begets a better life economically. And things start to settle down a little bit. You know, money does not make you happy, but having it's way better than not. We as an industry have a huge opportunity to change things. A gigantic opportunity to affect real change. If we always do what we always did, we'll always get what we always got. If we always do what we always did, we'll always get what we always got. Change, give it a try, pivot. God, I hate that word. I got to stop using it. Change. If it doesn't work, scrap it, start over. We have an opportunity to change. In my opinion, over the next 12 months, out of the 11, 12, 13,000 people that we place in automobile dealerships in the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico, I'm betting at least 20% or more will be some semblance of BDC people, business development coordinators or centers. Whatever you want to call them at the dealership. I'd like to get away from appointment setters because I think there's more talent there. I can tell you one thing. There's a whole mess of servers out there that would make excellent, let's call them for now, BDC reps that know how to deal with the public and can take a deal A to Z or however you want to set it up at your store, but a touchless delivery or whatever you're calling it. Talent's immense. Call us. Let us show you. It'll blow your mind. Blow your mind. Change. Make it happen. You know what Carvana has done to us? It's our own fault. We should have made these changes years ago. Benstock did it at Paragon and countless others. This is ridiculous. Yeah, my boat's big enough, Craig. Yeah, okay. But your employees' boats aren't big enough. Your children's boats aren't big enough. Help your children. Fix the father wound. Do it today. Make a decision. I sound like a preacher at the end of a sermon. Make a decision right now. To whoever's standing next to you, tell somebody. Post on social media. I'm going to change. I'm going to change. I'm going to treat my family better. I'm going to be a better father, mother. I'm going to be a better leader, and I'm going to do it today. I'm going to start right flipping now, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell you what, ain't nothing bad going to happen. You might hear some shit that you don't want to hear. Boo-hoo, get over it. I've heard stuff, trust me, that I don't want to hear about myself over the years. Mostly self-inflicted. But I'm going to change it. I'm going to do my best. That's all I can do is try. That's all I can do is try. It's like this. So we rent this fabulous studio from All Systems Go AV. And there's 3 principal owners. It's a real nice place, and they've really taken great care of us. And I'd like to think the quality of the studio, the sound, the camera work, and everything is top notch. I'd like to think that. I'd like to see this company flourish. I'd like to think of the people that own this company as my children. I'm older than them, so I can say that. So how can I do that? Well, I can review for them. I can tell everyone listening that if you have a video project, a conference, anything, these are the people to use. Period. End of story. Their work, in my opinion, looks like a freaking motion picture. They care about what they do. They're awesome at it. I'm proud to be working with them. See, that's the way a father talks about their children. Now, these people don't work for me. I pay them. Right? But my point is that maybe by them hearing it, and Adam's, on the other side of the glass, 8-10 feet away from me, maybe that'll help him. And maybe he can take that home. He has a 2-year-old son. And maybe something that he heard today might click and go, oh shit, I gotta handle this with my dad, and I gotta make sure that I don't screw up my kid. And I hope one of you that listened today, I hope that happens. I hope that when you tell that person at the dealership, or if you mention it online, or however you do it, doesn't matter to me. You want to reach out to me personally or whatever, just do it. Just follow through with it. Try to be a better parent. Try to be a better leader, because there is a correlation that is tightly knit. They're almost the same damn thing. There's leadership in your family, and there's family in your dealership and your leadership. So with that, 2 hours and 5 minutes later, my God, that's a record. That could be the shortest recruiter podcast we've ever done. We've got some amazing guests coming up. Let me put this out there. If you feel you're a potentially amazing guest, and you have the ability to want to talk to I don't know, if I know you, that's cool. But if I don't know you, to a stranger for 2, 3, 4 hours, we're going to stop the 4-hour ones, but 3 hours. Let me know. Reach out to me. Send you out a booking ticket. We put out-of-town guests. We put them up in a hotel, not too far from the studio here. It's in my opinion, a first-class operation. It's not the Joe Rogan studios. We don't have a sleep tank out there or stuff like that, but it's a pretty cool place. Good equipment, great people.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. I'd like that. Wouldn't that be cool? Just someday. Someday. So anything's possible. But Adam, thanks for your help in here today, dude.
Thank you very much, Craig.
Yeah, you're awesome. All you guys are, really. And folks, really, reach out to All Systems Go AV. They're our top-notch outfit. They really do a really nice job. Automotive dealer or whoever else is listening, if you need some video work done or anything along, just reach out to them and go. And what you should do is you should use this podcast studio. The place has been permasafed. It's sanitized. It's deodorized. It's disinfected, and it's we got some pretty expensive equipment in here. We literally have not like or similar. We literally have Joe Rogan's equipment in this building, like what they actually use. So it's pretty awesome. So if you guys would share this out to groups and so forth, that's pretty cool. I'd like to have as many people see this as humanly possible. That'd be awesome. The YouTube version, although is live, it's got to be kind of re-uploaded, and then I describe it and tag it and so forth later tonight, and then start sharing that out as well. So love your support. We appreciate you so much. And if there's any way that we can possibly help you in and out of a business relationship, please don't hesitate to reach out to you. We legit care about you. We really do. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Peace.